The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome to the August 9th regular council meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Under presentations this evening, Thank you. Under presentations this evening, we have none. Adoption of the agenda. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Thank you. Councillor Ford. Seconded by Councillor Vroba. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Next, could I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on July 12th, 2021? Councillor Cernick. Councillor Frank, you did twitch in that last one, so yeah, I'll get you this time. Seconded. Thank you. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have, first of all, from the Estevan Exhibition Association Rodeo Cabaret on September 4th. What's the wish of council on this? Councillor Vroba?
I was just going to say I'm very excited to see that the Estevan Exhibition Association is bringing back the rodeo. That's good. It'll be one of their first events since COVID, so hopefully it's well supported, and yes, acceptance and approval. I think we should definitely ensure this goes ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Councillor Clark?
I'll second that motion. Okay,
thank you. Any discussion? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Estevan Exhibition Association, the KCRA Rodeo Beer Gardens, September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. What's the wish of council on this? Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. I believe they just need this for approval for SLGA, so
That's right.
I'm very happy to support that, of course. So, yeah, I would make the motion in favor of this.
Thank you for that. Councillor Cernick, you second?
Second motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Black Grasshopper the events permit request for, and that has been changed. Instead of August 21st, they phoned City Clerk and said September 18th. Right, Judy?
Yeah.
So that is now September 18th. Otherwise, it'll be the same parking lot party with the band. Where? At the Hopper. When? September 18th. To have some much needed fun and to cut loose. The band will be from 8 till midnight. So what's the wish of council on this? I'm sure we'll all be there. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just have a quick question about event permits and whatnot. When we approve these, do the police get consulted beforehand before we approve them, just so they can change their staffing and whatnot to work around those nights, or how does that work?
They do. That's a very good point. But yes, they're made aware of that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, and I'll make the motion to accept this. This is a great thing. It'll be good for the community.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Councillor Walliser. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? And perhaps the other thing we should maybe make everyone aware of, Councillor Ford, is when we have the event, like the street dance, then we are responsible. We have to get the insurance, we get the security and all the rest of it. So if any of these entities have a party, then they are responsible. They're expected to have enough security. And, although our police will come and help, they're also expected to have qualified people for servers and what have you. That should go probably without saying, but maybe might be worth repeating. Okay, next, under written reports of committees, we have the Creighton Lodge minutes of June 17th. We have the Creighton Lodge lady here, Councillor Broba, thank you. You made the motion.
I was just going to make a reminder, though, it's Councillor Walliser, it's on this committee.
Oh, right, I keep thinking, yeah, you run the show, but make no mistake, Councillor Walliser's in charge. Yeah, I understand. Okay, have we got a seconder for that? Councillor Walliser, thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Next, under written reports of committees, we have the Estevan Bruin minutes of July 19th. Could we have a motion, please, for those? Thank you, Councillor Ford. Seconded by Councillor Clark. Anything you'd like us or to make us aware of, Councillor Ford, on that? Or
No, Your Worship, just that the ticket committee is getting ready for the Centennial Cup. There's going to be calls circulating throughout the community to businesses and everything as we start our ticket campaign, and I'm sure a lot of people have already heard about it. I believe 250 packages have already been sold, so we're well on our way, which is a very good start. So just be aware in the next couple months you'll be getting a phone call to see if you want to buy tickets for the Centennial Cup.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Ford, and City Manager and I are on that committee as well. And we'd like to thank everyone that has bought their tickets already. And we know it's going to be a first-class event, and with Council sponsoring it, we're hoping that more people will come to the table, more businesses, and buy packages. I bought a couple for my wife and I who have season tickets. It's a reasonable price for all of the games that you get, so hopefully we'll continue to have good interest for that. Okay, all in favor? Did I ask that? I think so. I get talking and then forget. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have the fire chief's report for March through July. Any questions or comments? Now, City Clerk, would you like each month, or can we do them all together?
All together.
We can do them all together, thank you. Could we have a motion for this, please? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Clark. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have from Land Development the rezoning of 418 Kensington Avenue. Now, the owner of the property, legally known as Block Q, Plan 101999818 at 418 Kensington Avenue, has applied to amend the zoning bylaw in order to allow for a redevelopment of the building. A proposed bylaw has been attached to this report. The property currently features apartment-style rentals on the top floor and the rear portion of the main floor, and commercial development on the main. There appears to have been an oversight in the original approval in that residential development was not permitted on the main floor. With a greater intensification of the residential use on the main floor, it was determined that this zoning issue be corrected at this time. The redevelopment includes the following proposed features. 5% of the main floor be an indoor amenity space for the residential component, installation of an elevator, orientation of the development for empty nester / active adult populations, and installation of a laneway access. The scope of the rezoning application is to allow for the additional residential development on the main floor within the existing zoning district on a discretionary basis. The current C3 zoning district is attached for reference. So, issues related to access, land use, parking, and other factors will be addressed through a development and building permit, should this advance to the next stage. Final comments. It is recommended that Council approve the first reading and set a public hearing to follow. Any additional comments, Richard?
None at this time. I'm here to answer any questions anyone on Council may have.
Okay, thank you, Richard, for coming this evening. Councillor Clark.
So they have brought this forward that they want to do this, and so they brought a whole package. It says we want to change a percentage of it, 2 rooms on the main floor, and part of the package is to change it with an elevator and make it into a whole different development, or, I guess.
Yeah, the existing building, 2-story building, it has commercial on the main floor, ground floor on the front, and residential on the second floor. Apparently, that's what it was approved for, but what was actually built, and the design plans showed that, had some residential on the main floor as well. The rear of the building, almost the whole rear half of the building was residential. For what they wanted to do here, even though it wasn't adopted by bylaw, I was trying to give them a nudge to move in line or more in line with what our new official community plan directions were. So 5% of the residential area will be an indoor amenity space. There wasn't any amenity space in that building the way it is currently. And then the elevator will be going in as well. So the end result will be a little bit less commercial development there. And then there would be, the top floor will be rejigged. A few of the suites are planned to be entirely accessibly accessed, like bathroom doors will be wider, all that kind of thing. The other one that came up, and you'll see this if this is approved and it goes to development permit, myself, our civil engineering department and the fire department, we're a little concerned with only one access in or out of that whole development. You know, if that building had a major fire, you'd have people trying to evac in their vehicles at the same time the fire engines are coming in. So we had 2 choices, and we discussed this with the applicant, and one was to put a right turn out onto Kensington southbound, and the other one was to hook into the laneway that's already there behind Saragello Place cul-de-sac. And so it was decided to go into the laneway. This zoning change doesn't include anything regarding the laneway. If it's approved, though, the development permit likely will. And then people in that neighborhood will probably have a chance to come forward if they have any concerns about that. I was told that historically there was a much taller building proposed at that site around 2014, and there was a bit of a pushback from the community, and that's how it wound back down to 2 stories instead of 4 or 5.
I believe you're right, Richard. Yeah. Any further questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Cerny.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the laneway, you're saying it can come off of Kensington and also from the west access from, what is that, sorry, Saragello Place there?
There's a lane in behind Saragello Place. It's a developed lane, and it goes to full length of the west boundary of this property. And so this property currently has a fence along the entire laneway. So what we're trying to do is, and the developer is okay with it, it would be to have an access into that laneway developed so that if there is a safety issue there with fire or whatever, that we don't wind up with a bottleneck at that one access onto Kensington.
It would give you more access and egress, which is what you'd need in this case. Okay. Are you done, Councillor Cerny?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Vrob?
I just wanted to point out, though, that is a laneway that we do get concerns annually regarding dust, because it's right beside the condos there at Peterson Point. So just so we're aware of that. If you increase the
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that, but I am now, and we'll definitely take that into consideration.
And if that is an issue, that's something Councillor Vroba, council could look at for dust-free. Okay, have we got a motion? Seeing no further questions or comments? I think it would be fair at this time to move it forward anyway and get to the public hearing. Councillor Frank?
Yeah, I agree. I would move forward and make the motion to acceptance and approval, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Cerny? Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next, under executive reports, land development. Again, development permit DP 042-2021 for Sask Arc. Land Development Services has received an application for development approval for a fabrication business at the site of the old brickyard on Jensen Road. The proposal is to use existing buildings. Fabrications will be on a smaller size than advertised on the company's website. It is noted that the business has access through a private road heading east to Perkins Street, which will presumably be used for heavier loads. Notice of the proposed use was provided to the adjoining landowners and the RM of Estevan. Comments. RM of Estevan has no objection. A comment was also received from the owner of Casa Colina that expressed concerns related to heavy trucks on 4th Avenue South. Land Development Services and City Engineering both agree the travel on 4th Avenue South should be limited to light vehicles and service trucks. As an example, GFL truck should be the largest vehicle that uses 5th Avenue South on a regular basis.
Should be 4th Avenue South.
What's that?
It should be 4th Avenue.
Oh, 4th, I'm sorry, yeah, misprint. Recommendation, it is recommended that Council consider a positive decision on this proposal, subject to standard conditions for discretionary use that includes provisions for landscaping, obtaining other required licenses and permits, and to begin operations within 1 year of the issuance of the permit. In addition, it is recommended that Saskatchewan Vehicle Class 7 with a GVWR rating of maximum 11,793 kilograms, which is 26,000 pounds, be the maximum vehicle weight allowed without a special permit. Okay, Councillor Clark, then Councillor Vrova. Or is that a motion in favor of? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion in favor of that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vrova, you were seconding?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I will second it, but I actually 100% agree that heavy trucks cannot go down 4th Avenue South because it's already very weak. Weak is a good word for part of that road. I mean, we have a really nice part going down towards past Jubilee Place. It's been done, but the part from Perkins to Jubilee Place is in poor condition.
Right.
So heavy truck traffic would not be good, but I think it's great to have another business go down there, so I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Again, Richard is busy from Land Development, the sign permit request for 310 4th Street. 4th Street Boulevard, how can it be a street and a boulevard? I guess so, eh? Of the street, exactly.
Yeah, the boulevard of the street, yeah.
Okay, Land Development Services has received a request from Beeline Taxi to relocate their sign that is located at 310 4th Street to the adjoining boulevard. Pursuant to the city sign bylaw, number 2003-1642, the city may authorize non-traffic related signage on city boulevards. The city has agreements in place for signage of this nature in various places throughout the city. Beeline Taxi currently has a sign, as shown on the attached photo, with the subject property, 310 4th Street. The company would like to move the sign off the property and onto the adjoining boulevard. The boulevard is approximately 4.8 meters in width and does not have a sidewalk in place. The sign is approximately 2.4 meters in width. Should this request be approved, there is sufficient room for pedestrian movement at that location. If approved, the matter would have to be re-evaluated in the future should a sidewalk be built at that location. Sign leases currently cost the sign owner $150 a year and have agreements attached to them and can be canceled on short notice. There are no traffic control devices in proximity to the sign that would cause interference for motorists. So there we have it. Richard, did you want to add to that at all?
I have nothing further to add at this time.
Okay, you're in
Available for questions.
you're in agreement to this moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Are they the owner or the renter of that property, or what's?
They are a tenant.
Okay.
They're currently paying rent for the sign. This is the same site that Prairie Dog is on.
Right.
Yeah, so the owner of that property, I believe, has a rental agreement with both Prairie Dog and Beeline. So Beeline's trying to move on to the boulevard, additional exposure, and possibly a more favorable rental rate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, and is this typical within, just thinking the distance between the lot for the RM's building there, to be able to get in and out without, and still be able to see cars coming or anything like that. Is this kind of a typical area, or is this far enough away, or is it going to block vision trying to get in and out of that parking lot?
There's lots of frontage on that property. I'm pretty sure we can find a safe place, but definitely we'll take that into consideration. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be my.
At least 25 feet away from the intersections, the way our bylaw is written. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vrob.
Do we have other businesses in town then that use the boulevards to put their advertising signs?
Yep.
Yes, we have about a half a dozen rental agreements currently for leases, and that would cover maybe about 15 different signs. Some of them are multiple signs at one location, like at Fast Gas or the Shell down the hill.
Okay, and this boulevard is always kept in good condition?
It's gravel boulevard right now, like as is quite typical on that street at that location.
And we did do this, if the RM does have a problem with their employees or their patrons coming out, it's something we can cancel with so many days' notice?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll definitely work to ensure that there isn't an obstruction of sight lines from the RM.
Yeah, because that can be a
Access
tricky
when it goes in the
parking lot
first time.
sometimes to get out of. So, yeah, I'll make the recommendation that we proceed to allow this, but with the understanding that it can be canceled if we get complaints.
Okay, Councillor Vroba, you'll make the motion. Have we got a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Frank. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, again, from Land Development, zoning bylaw, proposed cannabis amendment. Land Development Services has received an application to amend the zoning bylaw to allow for a cannabis retail store at 96 Souris Avenue. Based upon previous deliberations on this matter, a draft bylaw has been attached for council consideration of first reading. The background: in 2018, the city prepared a cannabis amendment to the zoning bylaw, which was focused on 4 restrictions. Number 1, non-interference in provincial and federal jurisdiction. Number 2, buffer distances to be in place around schools. Number 3, visible from a roadway to assist with police monitoring. And number 4, to be located within the arterial roadways, i.e. Kensington Ave, 4th, 13th Ave, King, on appropriately zoned properties. Since legalization, the city has expanded the area to include the downtown core and has approved 4 locations. Negative community feedback has so far been minimal, and there have not been any policing issues related to a store location. It is the view of the Land Development Services that the 4th principle is no longer necessary based on our local experiences, so removal of this added regulation should assist in the city meeting its economic development goals. It is therefore recommended that Council consider first reading of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment with a public hearing to follow on September 7th. Final comments? Should the first reading be granted to the draft bylaw, Land Development Services will also send a notice by mail to all residences within 75 meters of the commercial properties that would be impacted by the proposed bylaw, with an invitation to meet with interested parties prior to the public hearing in an effort to explain the merits of the proposed bylaw. This should assist in promoting community awareness of the intent of the proposed bylaw prior to a public hearing. What's the wish of council on this? I think Richard's covered all the bases. Should be fine, Richard. Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just have a question. If we were talking about a place that served alcohol, would we be following about the same procedure to get a license down in that area or an area that's not normally used for alcohol?
The alcoholic, alcohol beverage locations, whether it be lounges or what have you, do not have the prohibition from schools, the separation distance. And they don't have the visibility section in the bylaw related to policing and what have you. So the other one about the alcoholic beverages is you could potentially have a place, a licensed restaurant, for example, in the mall, whereas you couldn't have a cannabis retail store in the mall because it's not visible from the road, the entrance. So there are a few differences. The other one is that, as you're probably aware, SLJ has thrown it wide open. We could have 100 cannabis retail stores here, but it's difficult for some people to get their SLJ licenses for opening a wine store. Or
Yeah, that's a very good point.
the rationale behind it is beyond me. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's valid because it is wide open now for cannabis, but yet people have tried and tried and tried without success to get the license in our community. So it is interesting. Councillor Vroba?
Yeah, I actually had a comment today. Somebody had referred to the city and the alcohol licenses that we provide, and it is not the city that provides the
That's
alcohol
provincial.
licenses. It's
That's
provincial.
correct.
So some people still don't know that, but yeah, and cannabis is provincial too, but it's wide open. We just allow the storefront.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I will make the motion that we go ahead with allowing the bylaw to proceed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. Have we got it seconded? Thank you, Councillor Ford. Any further discussions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under introduction of bylaws, we have bylaw 2021-2046, amending the cannabis bylaw for zoned areas. First reading. Now we'll give first reading tonight, and then we'll advertise, Richard, for a couple of weeks, and then it'll come back to council.
September 7th is the earliest council that we can do.
Okay, thank you. So I will ask for first reading of bylaw 2021-2046, amending cannabis bylaw for zoned areas. Thank you, Councillor Surdick. Have we got a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Walliser. And all ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under introduction of bylaws, we have bylaw 2021-2047, amending zoning for 418 Kensington Avenue. And again, this will be for first reading only this evening. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Thank you, Councillor Clark. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Giving notice, we have none this evening. Motions from committee, we have none. Further consideration of bylaws, we have none this evening. Inquiries, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I just wanted to comment that the area under the trees that we did for the tree carvings on 3rd Street, they are in really good shape. So this is the first year since they've been done that haven't had any concerns since Rod and his crew went in and fixed them up. So thank you to Rod and his crew. But I did have a concern from a person who came with Churchill Park and how rough a shape it's in right now. So I kind of went through there, and I know the pool is not in operations, but it almost looks like Churchill Park, there isn't much for anyone to do there at all right now. And even the grass is completely, and I know we had a dry year. So when we put the new pool in, should we put plans in place maybe for an irrigation system too? so that our park can be nice and green and luscious, even maybe in a not so rainless year. We need a little bit of rainfall to help us out too. But yeah, so it just, if maybe even our crews could go over there and just take a look at that.
Give it a bit of TLC.
Yeah, especially around the pool area, it almost looks like it's becoming a bit of a landfill site there, so.
Okay.
If they could, and I know it's hard because leaves and stuff, especially right now, it's gonna fly in, but
And we will be doing, as you're well aware of,
Yeah.
that major development this fall, but you're right, we
yeah,
should
I
keep
think
it
it's
up.
gonna be beautiful once it is, but I think
It will.
the biggest thing is irrigation, and then I thought, I don't know how many of our parks, I know our newer parks have the irrigation system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our older parks, maybe that's something we need to think of in the future to make sure that they still have the grass that's needed for families to have a blanket out and have a picnic.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Broba. Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to go and acknowledge all of the people and organizations that are doing events that are bringing people to the community. Certainly, I've been involved with the minor ball, and now they have 2 more coming up on this weekend. That's 20 teams coming to town that are using the hotels. Same with the Exhibition Association doing the rodeo and the race cars. There's so many things that are happening, and I think these organizations need to be commended for their work to put these events on, and that the people of the city appreciate what they're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely good point, and I know the motor raceway was packed, and it's great to see, and I know Aaron Turnbull, I mean, it was even more people than they expected, so it was great to see the turnout. People, they want to get out now, post-COVID, and hopefully this variant isn't anything, or at least won't mushroom into something that, we hope that we're out the barn door and we're free, but we'll see where that all goes, so. It's interesting, but yeah, good point. It's nice that all these organizations are doing well, having these events, and they're very well attended. Councillor Walliser?
Nothing tonight, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Trudy, you just got back from holidays. You're totally refreshed. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Not after the long day today.
No, long day. We worked you like a rented mule after your first day. You're already tired. We did the same with Judy, too. Exactly. Okay, Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just actually to add to Councillor Clark, I had a couple people visiting from out of town over the past couple weeks who've been at various events, and they actually commended the city on how well the parks are looking and how good everything is looking. And there was somebody actually that came to visit who hasn't been to Estevan in 15 years, and she said, holy, this is a place that I would like to think about living in again. So there's lots of people noticing and seeing how much change is happening in our city, and I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Ford, for the positive comments, and Rod and his group do a tremendous job. Councillor Cernak?
Thank you, Worship. Just had inquiries about the new fencing behind Hastings Place and I guess the King Street. There, it does look good and everything, but just there was lots of concerns into why the fence was there, so.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment, and I'm sure some people thought it was part of the new pathway, but it's basically that delineates the water line underneath there. And we did have issues in the past with people driving over that and breaking the water line. So yeah, I agree. Rod did a very nice job. We did have it a little bit rough before with big yellow posts, but now with the chain link, it looks a lot better. I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Frank?
I'm just going to pass along. I've had just tons and tons of excited comments about the pathway plan.
Yes.
We're starting to see the work, and everybody's kind of getting eager and asking all kinds of questions about where it's going. So just definitely check out the city's Facebook page. It's hard to, I know we've asked for some good maps. It's hard to make a nice map of the city where it's going to go, but soon they'll be paved and you'll get to go and walk along them and find out where they go. So
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Councillor Frank. We've had a lot of positive comments. It's going to be great. City Manager?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Nothing. Trudy's too tired, our City Treasurer. City Clerk, you've had a few days. We've eased up on you, not too much today, but have you got energy to say a few comments? No?
I think I'm good. Thank
You're
you
good?
so much.
Okay. With that,
Happy summer.
okay, absolutely. Do we have a motion to move into committee? Thank you. Councillor Cernak, seconded by Councillor Frank. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much and good evening. We stand adjourned.